The recently announced GM plant closure in Oshawa will cost the area some 2,800 direct jobs and impact thousands more in spin-off employment. This is news that hits particularly close to home for us Albertans. Devastating news out of Ontario today as part of a broader North American restructuring. General Motors is closing its Oshawa plant, putting nearly 3,000 people in the community of 150,000 on the unemployment line. Prime Minister Trudeau is sending his thoughts for what it's worth. He tweeted, "GM workers have been a part of the heart and soul of Oshawa for generations, and we will do everything we can to help the families affected by this news get back on their feet." Yesterday, I spoke with GM's Mary Barra to express my deep disappointment in the closure. But did you know what Trudeau tweeted first? What was more important to him before offering his condolences to the town of Oshawa? He tweeted, "This week I'll travel to Argentina for the 2018 G20 summit to work with leaders from around the world to keep building stronger economies that work for everyone, fight climate change, promote gender equality, and discuss the future of work." Yeah, there will be no future of work in Canada as long as Trudeau remains focused like a kitten on a laser beam on stuff like gender equality and carbon taxes instead of the economy. Trudeau's the problem. As Albertans, I think we, probably more than anybody else right now in the entire country, can understand what nuking several thousand good jobs in a certain geographic area can do to the community supported by major industry. These sorts of job losses can crater everything from the local housing market to the local grocery store to the municipal tax base required to keep the roads from falling apart. Oshawa, I really mean it. As Albertans, we understand what today is like for you. It's sadness, anxiety, and fear of what comes next. Let me just put this in a little bit of context. When the Liberals rigged the system, changing the rules halfway through for the Energy East pipeline, resulting in the pipeline being abandoned by TransCanada, that vaporized 10,000 jobs overnight. When Trudeau and Notley refused to support the Northern Gateway pipeline, resulting in its cancellation by Enbridge, lowest estimates are that 3,000 jobs were destroyed at once. When activist courts put a stop to Kinder Morgan's Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, and when the Liberals refused to appeal that bad decision, 8,000 Canadian jobs disappeared from the economy. And as Keystone XL is now hung up in the American court system without any support or advocacy from Alberta's Premier Rachel Notley, another 4,500 Canadian jobs are not being created. So in just those 4 pipelines, we have 25,500 jobs dead or in limbo in the oil and gas sector. If my math is correct, that's over 9 GM plants worth of lost employment just tied up in obstructed or canceled pipelines. That's a national crisis. And that's just pipelines. That's not including the potential job losses from all the plants that were never built and winter drilling projects that never went ahead because the investment dollars went somewhere else when companies like Statoil, Total, Shell, and ConocoPhillips divested billions and billions of dollars from Canada and took their investment dollars to safer jurisdictions. I'm not counting the thousands upon thousands of other layoffs that happen a few hundred jobs at a time, it seems like every single week in the oil patch. I'm not counting all the private oil field contractors who quietly go out of business and whose idle equipment now shows up in the Ritchie Brothers auction at fire sale prices. None of this has ever been enough to get Trudeau's attention or heartfelt concern in a tweet. I'm glad Trudeau finally gives a damn now about Oshawa because each one of those families matters. He was never this heartfelt when his own inaction and bad policies coupled with Rachel Notley's brought about the same suffering and then some here in Alberta. Did Trudeau tweet his support to the mayor of Sherwood Park, Alberta, when Kinder Morgan was sent back to the drawing board? What about the mayor of Hardisty, Alberta, when Keystone XL ended up in a court challenge in the United States? What about the mayor of Bruderheim, Alberta, when Northern Gateway was cancelled? Nothing. He didn't say anything to them. Each one of those pipeline jobs is equally as important as every single job at the GM plant. Just like GM, each one of those lost jobs represents a family, a Canadian family without work as we approach Christmas. Maybe now that the bad economy is on the Liberals' Ontario doorstep, they just may start to care about blue-collar jobs all across this country, from the frackers in Fort St. John, BC, to those on the assembly line in Orangeville, Ontario, to refinery workers in St. John, New Brunswick. But I'm not holding my breath. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. Big tech loves to censor conservative voices. Twitter eliminates conservatives from the conversation by censoring mainstream conservatives all the time. But we have a way around that censorship. We have a new Rebel Media mobile app. It's available on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Download it, give it a whirl, and help us fight big tech censorship wherever you go.